What's up guys and welcome back to the channel. I'm Andy the Middle-Aged Gamer and this is the Well-Pro AK12 M1 GBBR review. Now as always, let's stick the usual disclosures on screen and well, let's just jump right in. Okay, so for those of you who haven't seen the unboxing video, let's catch you guys up. Well-Pro are an Asian airsoft manufacturer. Well-Pro made their name with their micro minigun and AUGs. Now, you guys for a long time have been asking them to make a GBBR and they listened. This time last year, they released test footage of the AK12 and PPK20 prototypes actually test firing. Now, I was excited and you guys were excited and we continue to follow it throughout the year. Okay, fast forward to the Asian MOE Expo in December of 2024 and we got to see the pre-production samples on display and basically do interviews with the Well-Pro staff themselves. Now, according to the people that were doing the videos, they basically said it was Marui-based internals, but it was their own design, and that it was compatible with the AKM/AKX magazines from Marui. Now, they would double down on that in February of 2025 at IWA, and, well, at that point, I hit buy, just like many of you probably did as well. And I ordered mine from JK Army, and the rest is, as we say, history. Okay guys, let's start at the rear and work our way forward, and at the rear we have this absolutely awesome modernized stock. Now, many of you who've seen the AK-12 initially back in 2017, all the way up to the start of a certain war going on, basically will have seen it with a AR buffer tube and a cheap Russian knockoff Magpul stock. Now, to be honest with you, that was crap. They knew it was crap, and in the 5th update to this, they basically introduced this awesome type of stock, and it is brilliant. This stock is based off of the ACR and follows many of the principles of the ACR. So, here at the rear, we do have this awesome, soft, rubber, actual texturized butt pad. It's about 1 centimeter thick, it's really nice, and it does kind of bend and flex to your shoulder enough that basically gives you a very good positive shouldering experience and grip, which is awesome. Now, you will see here at the bottom, you have your traditional sling point here, and you do have this little cutout part here. Now, if you go out there to Brownells or whatever you and purchase some steel QD cups, you can actually fit them here if you want to have your sling mounted to right at the rear. But that's not really important, and we'll get to that in a second. Moving on up, we do have this paddle. You push through here on the paddle and you can adjust the length of pull. It is a 6-position stock going all the way in to where I kind of like it, around about here. Now, basically, you will see this extra piece at the top, which is your cheek rest. It's really comfortable. The polymer is very solid. In fact, that's the one thing about this. The polymer, for the most part, feels very much like a G&G. And if you have a G&G, you'll know basically their polymer is some of the best on the market out there. It's really good. Now, this little, how would you say, trick is kind of cool because just like an ACR stock, it has an adjustable cheek rest. You just lift up slightly here on the front and then you can push across and it will lock into place. And of course, as you can see, you can move your stock however you wish to have it. Now, to pull it back down, if you're not using a high optic, you just lift up slightly at the top and pull back, and then you can just clip it down and it will lock into place. It's not going anywhere, which is absolutely awesome. At the rear here, we do have our QD cups. There's one here and one matching on the other side. I like them being further back here. It does support the weight better, and yes, they are steel. So again, you can use whatever you want out of the box. Now, the mounting bracket and all that is steel, which is awesome. The button to fold it is not, because as this is an AK, yes, just like the ACR, you can fold it and it stays in place. It's not going anywhere. You just pull on it and you can deploy your stock, which is how you should have it anyway. All right, moving on from the stock, we do actually have this awesome modernized grip. This was also introduced in the update and has slightly changed over the actual years of this being in. One of the main updates is this is now a one solid unit that includes the actual trigger guard itself, and you have this awesome grip feel. Now, of course, this is just a mock base cover here for this build, but you do have your mounting bolt here. Now, when I got mine, the mounting bolt was a little bit loose, and that allows for kind of like a creak there in the polymer. You can just grab an Allen key and tighten that down. Again, if you wanted to, you could add a bit of thread lock and reinsert everything if that's where you want to go, but to be honest with you, it's perfectly fine. Now, as this is all included, again, you can remove it, but you will want to remember to basically buy a separate trigger guard, a more traditional one, and fit that to this, should you wish. Now, with that out of the way, let's move to the mag release. The mag release here is a updated version of the mag release. Basically, this is a polymer cover over a steel core, and you have your traditional use here. So pull down and rock it out. Or if you are a more modern tactical, you want to do it that way. If you're right-handed or left, you can push down on the tab on either side and drop it that way. It's entirely up to you. Now, like I say, it is a polymer cover because inside is a steel actual mag catch and latch, and the button goes all the way down, so you could remove this if you wish to go more traditional. Not that you want to, because the whole point of a modernized AK out the box is that's what you really wanted, right? Now, let's move to the trigger. So, moving the selector in, the trigger itself has a 1, 2, 3, and a 4 millimeter length of pull, so that's 4 mils, give or take. Your reset is 1, 2, 3, and you can just pull it and away you go. When it comes to power to pull the trigger, it's about 2.5 pounds, and it's really nice. It's lightweight and one of the best AK triggers on the actual market today. Now, as you'll have noticed, this has a fully ambidextrous fire selector, and you have safe all the way back, semi in the middle, and fun mode all the way out there. And as you can hear, it's very nice, positive, and tactile. Now, when it comes to markings, you can see it has the Cyrillic markings for the fire selector, and here on the receiver you have your markings right there. Now, when it comes to materials made, receiver steel, the top cover is steel, as you can tell. We've already shown that the mag catch is steel, all your pins are steel. It's absolutely awesome when it comes to that. It's really, really good. So, with that, let's move on to the magazines. We put that one there. All right, so these are the AK12 magazines. One thing I'm going to tell you straight away, this GBBR is not compatible with AKM/AKX mags. A lot of you have tried it out there, especially a lot of other YouTubers that have their AKMs and AKXs. I don't have my AKX anymore, which is why I went for the AK12. I like a modern AK, and basically, well, during all this, I got confirmed from the manufacturers themselves that no, it is no compatible, which, you know, it might suck for some, but for me, I actually prefer a proprietary magazine. At least you know what you're getting there, and the actual end product is better fitted and tighter fitting to this and is guaranteed to work. Now, what I mean by that is one of the issues is basically it's here. This is your actual rear locking latch. So your AK will hook onto the front and lock back. Okay, so as you rock it in, the catch will catch under here, and it's the difference in sizes here between this and the Marui that has that issue. Also, when you do have it locked in, the geometry of where this all sits now, with it having a different locking angle with the Marui, means that this actual router, so even if you held it in, it won't work because the router will not be able to match up with the actual nozzle intake, and therefore you have your issues where it just doesn't cycle. So stick to the AK12 magazines. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, one, just take a look at them. They're freaking awesome. You have the nice little angled cut here so that when you're lying prone, the magazine can be used as a base to support you and it doesn't get in the way. When you have the slightly longer magazines, which the 7.62x39 are, and the 5.55x39 for the AK-74 are. Basically, they're like that, and you've got all that extra material. You don't need it. Now, these hold 35 rounds in the magazine, but the gas tank is substantial enough. It's solid aluminium, which is absolutely huge, with a steel end plate there, so it's going to be protected. Basically, these will hold around about enough gas to hit the 140 to 150 BB mark, which means you basically don't go through as much gas as you would do if you had, say, an AR-15 or something like that. These are really gas efficient. Now, you will be able to get more rounds on a charge of gas in the summer months, definitely for sure, but as it's just going into spring, so it's still cold here in the UK, or cool. Yeah, I've been able to get 140 rounds on one charge of gas. And yes, they will absolutely mag dump. That's not a problem. And we'll insert that footage now. All right, so how heavy are these mags? I hear you say, so let's get the scales out. Here's my trusty old dirty scales, but let's click it on. And of course, we'll zero it, it's in grams. These magazines weigh 536.6. So that's really good. They're a little bit heavier than a Marui Stanag mag, but not that much. Now, when it comes down to it, these are absolutely awesome. These on the real steel would be actual glass or polymer see-through windows there, so you can see the tips of your bullets, and there's a little follower that's highlighted to show you how many rounds you have left, which is awesome. But because this is a whole gas tank, well, you can imagine. Now at the rear, you do have the usual Marui click no bang feature right there, and I would highly recommend that you do add a little bit of silicone oil to it, and just make sure that it is well oiled. Your fill valve is right here at the back. They are quite nice fill. They're virtually silent, which is really good. And all the internal parts are actually compatible with Marui. So all these stuff like the follower, the spring, the feed lips and all that are, but these feed lips don't require a tool to overcome the stiffness. They're soft enough that you can use a speed loader, but tight enough that they don't shoot BBs out. They're really good. And as you can see where the steel receiver wears the finish away on it, they look nice and battle worn now. I like that look. Okay, moving up to the top cover itself, you have this lovely Picatinny rail along the top, and you do have your rear sight. Now the rear sight is adjustable for range. Of course, I've got it set to 100 meters right there, but you would push down on the diopter and then you can change it to 600 meters, or like I say, you can go back to the 100. Now, I really like it. Everything's been tight. I did hear with the PPK20, some people are having to thread lock it, but in mine, no issue. But yeah, this top cover is held on by a retaining like AR style pin. Just pop that through here. We'll show you that later. And it's locked on at the rear. There is no bend or flex. You can't move it. It's really nice and rigid. And every time I've taken this off and put it on, I've never had to adjust the zero on the optic. That is absolutely phenomenal. Now, moving forward, we'll get to the handguard itself. This is going to be the talking point for a lot of people out there. But yeah, when it comes to the handguard, this is the AK12 handguard. Okay, this handguard itself is retained by this steel pin here. There is a little sheet metal in there that locks down and keeps this from walking out. But yeah, it's an awesome pin system. It works. It does everything it's meant to do in that respect. It is a two-piece. The top is held on by a screw here and a screw here at the front. That is a two-piece. You will need two Allen keys for here. But if you undo that, you can clip off the top and then just using the same Allen key to push through, and then you can just push out this pin and then slide the entire handguard off. I like this. You're never really going to need to do it. This one is all modernized. It is, again, the latest upgrade version. You do have a Picatinny here at the bottom, Picatinny at the top, and you do have these circles here. You can move these into either of these positions. There's a bracket on the inside that matches with the other, and basically you've got these segments here that are maneuverable to clip your lights, your lasers, should you wish. As this is an AK, I'm going old school and raw without any optics or lights at the front, whatever you want to call them, which is kind of cool. Now the polymer is nice enough that you can hold it with your gloved hand and it doesn't shred your skin. I like that. I think it's really well made. And again, there's no bend, there's no creak, there's no rattle, there's nothing. It's completely solid, which is absolutely beautiful. Now, because this doesn't use a traditional lever here at the front trunnion to lift it up and then you can take out the gas tube, it's all mounted through on this one with the AK12 system. What compatible handguards? We'll talk about later. Now, you can see your outer barrel right the way here. This is a 12-inch outer barrel, goes right the way up to just about there. We'll show you that in a minute. Okay, so you do have your front sling point here. It is a metal. It's not going to go anywhere. And you do have your front gas block here. Now, of course, this is your front sight adjustment pin. It is steel along with your front sight at the front. You do have your gas block tap here. We can remove that. That is removable. And we do have this awesome muzzle device. Now, we can unscrew this muzzle device here to reveal 14mm CCW threads. And as you can see, your inner barrel goes right the way out to those threads, which is absolutely awesome. Okay, now flipping it around, as you can see, everything is mirrored on this side, which is awesome. And when it comes down to it, the only other markings are going to be your selector here. But as you can see, this is an ambi selector. It's a unique one, but it works really well. Now, why don't we get this out on the range and show you what she can do. Okay guys, I'm using 0.25 gram BBs and green gas. Okay, so 2 didn't register. Let's try that again. Okay, so let's call it a 400 FPS average with 2.5 gram BBs and green gas. All right, let's take it back to 15 meters and let's see how tight this grouping's gonna be. All right, let's step it back and test the Texas Star, shall we? Okay, well, holy crap. So we're looking at over 400 FPS for your first shot and approximately 400 FPS with 2.5 gram BBs and green gas. And that is ridiculous, especially when the outside temperature is about 14 degrees right now. And it's going to get hotter as we're now entering spring. That's going to go up slightly. Yeesh, we need to tame that. But look at the accuracy of it. My gosh. So even at its furthest part, it's 1 3/4 inches. At its part here, it's like 1.5 inches from here. So we're looking at just under 2 inches at 15 meters with an AK. Wow. Nice one, Well-Pro, for that. You've got this thing shooting accurate, but what the hell are you doing with the actual FPS? Now, we're going to get onto that in a moment when we get to the bolt carrier. I'm just going to set that aside. Let's do things in order, and let's start with the receiver. So, for those of you who own an AKM/AKX, you're going to recognize this very easily. So, yes, the body is stamped steel, and inside is your standard Marui AK layout. And I do say Marui because it is heavily based, if not virtually the same as a Marui. Now, of course, you're going to have your different fire selector here because it's ambi, it's not just all on one side. But taking that into account, if we drop the hammer there, you will find that the hammer itself is a zinc metal with a aluminium spring-loaded, I don't know if I can get that on camera for you there, but it has a spring-loaded detent inside the hammer itself. Now, why is that there? I hear people say, well, it's there for a reason. So, if we set the hammer there, that little thing, basically, as the bolt goes back, it will slam into here and right over the top. But when it comes back, this will absorb the actual impact, as I smack my camera there, but this will absorb the impact of the bolt riding back forward, and that basically means that, yes, it still has a bit of flex down, because like the Marui hammer is smooth, it will go to about a 95 degrees, like that's with a little extra play to get out the way. That's how the Marui does it. This has it, but it has that extra bit there just to make sure that it takes a lot of the force out of the hammer and doesn't cause issues down the line. Now, you do have your actual firing pin reset right here, so you can click that and the firing pin will move out the way. But if you want to fire it, you just pull that there. We can do this. And if I get that from inside there, we can click that on there. You can see that the firing pin has a steel core. Now, I don't know, you can just see it there on there. It's a zinc firing pin with a steel core on there, which is a slight improvement over the Marui, especially the early. And as you can see, it gets out of the way very easy. Now, again, you will see your usual wear pattern right there on the hammer as everything rides over it. General wear and tear is obviously going to be there. It's just part of it. Okay, and when we move to your hop chamber here at the front, it is virtually identical to the Marui hop chamber. Right down to your wheel being right. If we can get the light in there. Come on. There we go. You got the wheel right there. Now, unlike the Marui, it doesn't have nice bright white numbers on there and large clicks in between. This has micro little ratchet clicks as you move through, so you can adjust it a little bit better. Of course, you still have the dry fire tab right there, although unlike the Marui, it's not so pretentious that it stays in place. You could easily tap it out. Again, it's nice to have that if you want to dry fire it, but whatever you, and if you did want to, you could just remove this out and put in a standard Marui AKM AKX hop chamber. Same with most of the pieces in there are technically around there with some little differences here and there, but will that make a difference? Well, you be the judge. Now that we've gone off here, you will notice as well here on the top, you have this little pin here. This pin is your retaining pin for your top cover, along with these hooks right here at the back, which are steel. They're not going anywhere, and they'll lock onto the rear. So there's 2 points there at the rear, and then you have this flat piece that goes in the front, and it holds it rigid right there at the front. So of course this thing's not going anywhere. So I'm really happy with that. I think that's really, 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 really good. I think what they've done here is phenomenal. They should give themselves a pat on the back for that. Now, move the body out the way. So let's talk about the recoil spring next. So there's your standard 2-piece rod, as you can see, very much like the Marui, and technically, yes, you could get the Marui one and drop it in and drop this into a Marui and it would work. But because this is for the AK12, there is no little stub here on the back, so you could push this sort of like button in to get it out the way to release your top cover. But you do get a steel impact plate right here for the buffer, and it is adjustable just like the Marui. It's pretty much the same. You have a steel spring and recoil rod inside, and as you can see, everything is steel where it needs to be. The body itself here is zinc, but your core and everything in there is steel, along with your 2 rubber O-rings right there for absorbing the impact. It's really simple. It does its job really, really well. I'm really impressed with it. It does a good job. Now, the moment we've all been waiting for, the bolt carrier. So, straight away, let's get the scales out again. Come on. So, for those of you who want to know how heavy this whole thing is on its own, we'll zero it. Don't know if it'll stand on the end. If not, I can barely just... There you go. It's 268 grams, which is heavier than a standard M4A1 bolt carrier from an MWS. That basically means you are getting a little bit of a bigger impact in the shoulder than a standard AR, and that's kind of cool. It does feel quite nice. It's not the hardest kicking, but it's not the worst kicking. It's actually quite good. I enjoy it, especially when you get it on a nice mag dump here and there. Your shoulder's jiggling like a bowl of jelly if it's like mine. Yes, I know. Yeah, it's basically a decent system. Now, many of you are going to recognize this bolt carrier right away. As you can see, you got your polishing wear marks as usual in there. You got your bolt body. This has been roll pinned in. You can knock that out to take your AK12 gas rod off, and if you wanted to replace this whole body with another, let's say, steel one, or I believe Ratec make a special one now that's basically doesn't require you to change the internals, but allows you this whole thing to go back, and then the bolt top part to continue to reciprocate to give you that full length of travel, but not lose the gas efficiency by having to travel the entire thing. So that's really, really good to look for. Now, getting into this, it is basically a Marui nozzle and Marui bolt carrier for the AK. That's really, really good, and I do like what they've done. They've done an absolute outstanding job on this thing with minimum wear, as you can see right here, as it goes over, hitting the hammer and the actual reset pins. It's really, really good. Now, they said to me, via communication that I've had for a few weeks, that this is completely their own build and it is not Marui, etc., that they designed it all in-house because they're in China and they don't have access to Airsoft Toys, yet they're manufacturing in China. Go figure. But we all understand that, right? Let's actually show you how I got the FPS down to be site legal. All right, so to get this to be site legal, we're going to need to take this thing apart. Okay, so we've got our bolt carrier right here. Now, just like the Marui, you start with the front and then you go to the back. So here at the front we have a hex screw. So we'll just undo you. Like I say, I've been in contact with Well-Pro now for a few weeks straight. And the first question I asked them is, hey, why's mine got 400 FPS? They explained to me that some retailers, specifically the Asian ones, were requesting that they had no NPAS because some people out there that use it seem to think that they know what they're doing a lot and basically break it, and, well, as a point of failure because it is not precise and all things need breaking in points, etc. They didn't want returns, so they said no NPAS, please. If you buy it here in the UK, you will get a hard case and it will have an NPAS. Or it should do, allegedly. Now, if we move over to here, we now do the rear one. Having the rear one undone, we can now do this. And as you can just see, it's slowly pushing the rear part out, which is how it's meant to go. And we let that go all the way until it no longer goes out anymore and it stops, because then it's at this point, and we can now disconnect here. So at this point, we take this lovely top cover off. We can now just set that spring aside, and we can now lift this up. That's your nozzle return spring, and we can now pull out the nozzle. Okay, so I'm going to go slow here so that those experts out there can have a look. Do you recognize what it is yet? Now, of course, to get this undone next, we will take the O-ring off. The O-ring is green, Marui is black. Now we need to now get this little screw so we can swap the tips for the screwdriver. And we can now, oh, there it is. In we go. We take that little screw out there. Okay. Now at this point, we pull here at the bottom. It's unique in the respect that this is exactly like the Marui. We take it out. Now, boom. We'll take that off. Okay. Take a minute to have a look at that. Now, according to their correspondence, this is a unique and their own proprietary design, and that basically, when I asked them, would a Marui AKM/AKX rocket valve work? They said, oh, no, we've never tested that. It won't work. This is our own design, which is great. Okay, all right. But the keen item on you at first, which being that I've been basically doing this now for a long time, that is their rocket valve. It is their own design, for sure. Not. Because here is a VFC GBBR rocket valve. Now, this is Clutch Precisions with the NPAS. And if you get the NPAS version, this should look very familiar to you. Oh, look. So I'm going to put this like this. And I'm going to put that like that. Yeah. Okay. So, next I tried this in it. It fits, it feeds, and it did reduce the FPS to about 360, thereabouts consistently. But again, remember, I have to get this down to 314 FPS with 2.5 gram BBs to be site legal, which works out at 350 FPS with 0.2. So just have to bear that one in mind. So this does work and will run reliably in your system. But I started to experiment more. Now, of course, at that point, I was like, well, come on. There's got to be something that I can do to get it down, because Well-Pro wanted to charge me €42 to be exact, to send me an NPAS for this. So I bit the bullet. I spent 30 quid and got the Hephaestus Marui. So yes, go right ahead and use that QR code if you want to find it for yourself. But yeah, they gave you this little NPAS. Well, what that is this. Okay. Now that is designed for your Marui AKM/AKX. Okay, but take a moment to pause right now and have a look at that nozzle. So I don't know if I can get the light on there, but there you go. There is the bottom sled for the Marui. There is the nozzle for the Marui. Now you'll notice that, yes, if I just put that aside for a second, the Marui has the cutout here. That is normally for a little rotary wheel, a little bearing wheel that is held in place. This doesn't have it, so that makes it their own, allegedly. Now, in here, they did include this little piece that's just held there in place by gravity and the whole thing friction together. All that is a standoff. What that does is basically when the nozzle is in together, as it sits like this, stops it from rotating, and these little pegs right there push the nozzle further forward just enough to about there, right? Okay, so when it's in its rested position. Now that would be fine, but Marui doesn't use that, so we can get rid of that. Yeah. Okay, here's the Marui. So I decided to do exactly that. I took that piece out that they added included in this, which again, and I took their rocket valve and left that out. And now all we need to do is reassemble this like so. And boom, we can put that in. And of course, to make sure that we've got it right, we can get the tools that are supplied to, yep. Okay, so we got that ready to go. Now, of course, because we're not using the standoff piece, we can now just insert this back in. like so. We can now take this, like so. And we can now reassemble. Like so. Now we can attach the O-ring, like so. We can get our bolt carrier body here at the back. Put it into about here. Take our guide and your nozzle return spring. Close it back up. Put that in there like that. And yes, with the screw still in, we can now line this up to here. Switch the tips back. Doing all this one-handed without dropping anything, like so. And now reassemble. This is really cool, right guys? Being able to basically restore this back to Marui spec. Tighten it just enough, not too much. Move you out. Okay. So we need the other screw. Insert through here. Get you on. And again. Reassemble as such. Check your nozzle. And there you go. You now have an NPAS rocket valve for the Marui. So, does it work? Well, how about we put all this back together and let's go and test. So, reassemble this quite easily. You just put it back in, slide it to here. That locks forward, resets all the bits that it needs to. Hook that in, and well, quick function test, and it works perfectly fine. My magnet just slammed on the top cover there. Now we push the front pin here, and as you can see, you've got your two locators here. So we grab the top cover, drop that into place there. You hear it slot forward and lock, push that, and it's back on. Okay, so with the Hephaestus rocket valve in there and green gas and 0.25 gram BBs, let's see what she can do now.
There's someone right down the end on the left.
Right down on there?
Yeah. knife! No! I got it so that it's fucking full. Got him right in the fucking forehead.
Hit. Oh. Hit. Oh, right in the forehead for him.
Dead man!
Hit. Two down, two down, two down.
Oh fuck! Oh yeah!
We've got temple control right now.
Down the side there's one in the doorway on the left.
Right. Okay. This might get some shot, but
It might
don't see him.
It might have fucked off.
Yeah.
Oh no, he hasn't. He hasn't.
You've got the range, dude.
One back far window.
Okay. There's not much I can really do there.
Yeah, it's fucked.
Far window, far window.
Yeah, I see him.
Alright, sure.
Right in that corner.
Yeah.
Where I'm doing now. Push, 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 push.
Yeah, pushing that left hand wall.
Hit! Nice one!
Go for it.
No, Palado in the building! Hey! Did you know if you add powdered to whole milk, you get more milk per milk?
Keep it for
Okay, if you've gotten this far in the video and you like what you see but you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, and while you're down there, hit that notification bell so you don't miss another video, and hit that like button as something magical will happen. This channel is and always will be 100% independent. This channel is not owned by, operated by, or sponsored by any airsoft manufacturer or retailer. Every airsoft toy you see on this table has been bought by me And basically that allows me to be open and honest and genuine with you guys. I don't have a contract that basically says I have to give it a positive review in order to continue to get free guns or do business with them. Buying it myself means I am my own boss, and you guys get the honest and true response. Okay, so we got to that point in the video where we put all the pros and cons together and we come to a conclusion. And, well, going over this, the main cons are nothing to do with the weapon itself. It's mainly down to the communication from Well-Pro. If we go back to the EWA interviews and to the MOE show interviews, then you guys yourself will know that they did confirm it's compatible, but it's not. And they said that it's their own design, but yet we've already shown you deep inside this thing, and we already shown that it is virtually the same. There are a few differences here and there, like with the hammer having that bit in it, but you could remove that hammer and stick in a Marui one potentially, etc., etc. And that to me is, how can I say this? It's disappointing. Using what we call in the industry legalese to get yourself out of trouble so you're not sued, I understand. But if you are going to actually put people out there that know for sure or not, that's the more important thing. So, yeah, don't just put a pretty face out there at MOE or at EWA. Don't use the sales team. Use the actual engineers. Get the people who designed it and have been testing it, and they can say yes or no. And that's important, especially to the consumer. We're dealing with the actual GBBR fanboys out there that want an AK that's reliable and so on, and they got genuine questions that need answering. So that's my downside. And given the fact that I've had, a good 3 or 4 weeks now, backwards and forwards with Well-Pro themselves, they are really decent people inside. But like I say, there's a lot of legalese. They told me the rocket valve won't fit because it's their own design, yet we've already proven that's a load of B.S. And you know, they've basically wouldn't answer my simple question about handguards. So you have to find that out yourself, as they say. And again, with the magazines, things like that just annoy me. And that's where my, I would say, negatives are. It's not at the actual GBBR because, come on guys, at sub 2-inch groupings at 15 meters with 0.25 gram BBs, consistency really, really well. I mean, it's a Marui nozzle, what you're going to expect. And this is all stock. I have not even played with the inner barrel or the bucking. Don't need to. Never needed to adjust it. Although I did try out the adjustment wheel to see what it was like. And unlike the Marui AK wheel, which has those big numbers, like I said, it's just lots of micro little ratchets that you can feel. And it will hold itself in that exact, which is good because it gives you that better feel to get it to lock in. You do have the same dry fire, you do have the same hammer, although they did include that extra, more denser material in the top, which is spring-loaded, so that it absorbs a lot of the impact. Again, that's all about prolonging the lifespan of the GBBR as is. But everything else about this, just, it's really well made. The stock doesn't wobble, the magazines don't wobble, it's just phenomenal. So, based off of the GBBR, if I had to give it a score, it's a 9 out of 10. And I do say 9 out of 10. If it had done the magazine compatibility and they kept the overall word, as they said, and it was genuinely unique to their system, then of course I would bump it up because they were being honest. But because of that legalese side of things, that's where I'll give it a 9, a solid 9 out of 10. This is probably the best AK on the market for you to pick up right now that's modernized. On the market, there really is only 2 modern AKs that are available, or modernized, let's call it, that come out the box. There's the Tokyo Marui AKX, which you've seen on this channel. You can go through my catalog and have a look, and I love that. And then you have this. But this beats that, hands down. This is way better than the AKX. The AKX was so front heavy, yet it only had a very short barrel at the front. But the handguard itself was made out of solid die cast. It was so heavy, with a heavy profile barrel on it, that basically the whole front end was just ridiculous. After 15 minutes of gameplay, a lot of people who using it was actually complaining about fatigue because it was just too heavy. And then the stock was so light that, joking out there, but you could put a feather in the stock and the feather had hit the ground first before the stock. It was so light. And of course, that meant you had to go out there and buy your own. The lockup at the rear, using that silly ratchet wheel that would break quite quickly if you used it and disassembled it a lot. Just little things like that. That the Marui is awesome, but they kind of half-assed it in that respect. They haven't with this Well-Pro. This Well-Pro is just solidly built. It's balanced perfectly in the wrist, so it doesn't feel too front end. It's not rear end. It balances just nice in the grip side where your wrist is, and that is awesome. You can use this all day long in gameplay. It feels beefy like a tank, and it shoots like a Ferrari, if you can get that analogy. It's just absolutely phenomenal. So, I would love to know at this point what you guys think. And if there's anything I've missed, then use the comments down below. And with that, I've been Andy, the Middle-Aged Gamer. And you guys have been absolutely amazing. And I will see you guys in the next one.